is my story, and it's a story I hear from so many parents. For quite some time, I couldn't grasp why parenting my two kids felt so different. I was still the same parent holding the same values and rules. I had the same intentions. I aimed to be calm, fair, and consistent with both of them. Yet one of my kids seemed to cooperate easily, while the other one broke down over everything. Transitions were tough, mornings were tense, and simple requests could create so much emotional storm. And quietly, I began to question if I was somehow doing something wrong. One of my kids listened well, and the other one struggled profound. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Initially, I reassured myself that this was normal, that kids are just different. Yet, as the days turned into weeks and weeks into years, the differences became hard to ignore. One of my kids moved through the day with ease, getting dressed, following instructions, adapting to everything, while my other one seemed perpetually overwhelmed. Clothes felt wrong, time pressure seemed unbearable, and the noises were overwhelming. What was even stranger was that the same approach worked wonders for one of them, but completely failed for the other one. And that's when the self doubt came in. I began questioning everything. Why did my methods work for one kid and not the other? Am I unknowingly being inconsistent? Am I too lenient with one and strict with the other? Am I overlooking something obvious? Like many parents, I looked inwards, assuming I was the issue. I thought I needed to be more consistent. I needed to be more structured and firm. So I insisted on fairness. I made sure I had the same expectations, consequences, tone of voice, routines, etc., etc. But instead of improving things, the problems kept increasing. One of my kids was thriving well, and the other one unraveled. I started seeing more meltdowns, recovery took longer, my frustration grew, their frustration. I wasn't angry at my kid. I was just worn out and confused. And I felt quietly ashamed for not being able to get it all together, especially when it seemed so effortless with one of my kids. This is a moment many parents don't talk about, a time when love and effort are present, but confidence starts slipping away. When you stop asking, what does my child need? And start thinking, what am I doing wrong? That was me. I recall standing in the middle of a rushed morning. One child was ready, the other one crumpled on the floor crying. The clock was ticking, and my patience was getting thin. I wondered, how can two kids from the same home be so different? I used to think the issue was behavior. One child seemed more difficult, more resistant, more emotional. I worried about labels, the future, and feared that if I didn't fix it, my child would fail. And that fear drove me to strategies that only made things worse. The more I attempted to control behavior, the more intense the reactions became. What ultimately changed wasn't a new rule or a better consequence. It was an important realization. I realized that the problem wasn't his behavior. It was about temperament. And once I understood that, everything started falling into place. Temperament isn't about good or bad behavior. It's about how a child's nervous system is wired. Some nervous systems are more adaptable and they handle changes quickly, while others are more sensitive, taking in more information and feeling more deeply. They tend to get overwhelmed faster and take longer to settle. And here's the point that changed everything for me. The same demand can trigger completely different feelings in different nervous systems. What seems like a simple request for one kid can feel like a lot of pressure to the other. What feels urgent to one may feel threatening to the other. And when a nervous system feels threatened, listening shuts down. Suddenly, my child's reaction became less confusing and more predictable. I had been parenting both my kids the same way, expecting the same reaction and feeling frustrated when I didn't see that. My pursuit of fairness wasn't wrong, but I misunderstood what it meant. Fairness does not mean identical. When I stopped expecting the same response from both the kids, my guilt began to fade. I didn't have to have favorites or reduce my expectations. I just had to offer support in different ways. And that's when I noticed the change. It didn't happen suddenly, but slowly and surely. Meltdowns didn't vanish, but they became shorter, and recovery was quicker. My child felt more understood, which made me feel more confident. Not because parenting was easier, but because it became calmer. Later, as I began working with other parents, I heard the same story everywhere. Different homes, different kids, but the confusion and guilt were the same. And the persistent question, why is one child so much harder than the other? Time after time, the answer points back to temperament. Every child has a unique temperament, requiring different parenting styles. Some can handle direction easily and quick transitions easily, while the others need more emotional, while the other needs more emotional connection and preparation to feel regulated enough to cooperate. Recognizing your child's temperament will allow you to stop personalizing the reactions and to respond with intention. Parenting shifts from fixing behavior to supporting the nervous system. This also means that applying the same strategy for every child can lead to setbacks. The expectations can remain, but the way you guide your child must align with your child's nervous system wiring. Once you understand that sensitivity isn't misbehavior, that strong reactions are not signs of manipulation, and that parenting one child successfully doesn't necessarily translate to the other, and that you're parenting different nervous systems. This is the story I have lived. And it's a story I hear from parents every week. If this resonates with you, I want you to know that you're not failing and you're not alone.